name is Lawrence Jenkins. I am both the Dean of the College of Visual and Performing Arts here at UMass Dartmouth and a member of the New Bedford Art Museum and Artworks Board. In both capacities, I am thrilled to welcome you this evening to the Star Store and the Crapo Gallery. It's a wonderful space for these kinds of events. As you afterwards have your little bit of a snack and a little bit of a drink, the exhibition in the gallery is terrific and worth a turn through. A couple of orders of business before we start. We are on the UMass Dartmouth campus. We are required to be and to remain masked when indoors. Obviously, brief unmasking for drinking and eating. Restrooms are on the other side of the elevator if you need them. It is my real pleasure to say welcome, to thank you for being here, for allowing us to share the vision for the future of the New Bedford Art Museum, to be able to have a conversation about it. My real job, though, is to introduce our first speaker, someone who really needs no introduction, at least in this crowd. I always think of him as the dad of my wicked awesome pet sitter. I understand, though, he has other responsibilities as well. He has very graciously given us time this evening, and I hope you will join me in welcoming Mayor Jon Mitchell.
That was a different introduction, Dean Jenkins. But thank you for that. Yeah, for those in the audience, and there are a few of you who know that wicked awesome sitter, the pet sitter, Lauren Mitchell. You know that for her, it's all about the money. But in any case, so first off, it's really nice to be out and see all of you. We're masked, and that's okay. You know, we've got to a point in the pandemic where style has been introduced to mask wearing. So there are some folks who are minimalists, some who are more outlandish and out there and ornate, and it's all good, you know, and just as well for, you know, a group that is all about expressing oneself. So I wanted to offer up just a couple of comments, just to, you know, because in a way of just sort of tying up lots of conversations that we've had over the course of the pandemic, over the course of the last couple of years. So first off, we're emerging right now, and that's really exciting. We're not quite there yet. You know, there's a hump to get over. We are, after all, wearing masks. If there's any reminder that we need, well, there it is. And so, you know, I've certainly stressed to folks that, you know, we need to you know, to do what's necessary to get over that hump. And just as a brief programming note, and I suspect I'm, in a way, preaching to the choir, but the more that we can evangelize the vaccines, the better. That's part of emerging from our current state. But the other is just recognizing that we're at a period right now when a lot of plans that have been in formation for a long time are starting to come together. Resources are starting to materialize, and a lot of people are really eager to get down to the work of building things, institutions, experiences. And so it's the confluence of all these things, the planning work, the end of the pandemic, or nearing the end of the pandemic. I want to be careful not to overstate things. The arrival of federal resources in particular that are as great as anything that we've received since, perhaps since the New Deal. And just the really level, the excitement that people have to, you know, to get after it, I think really sets us up well. And this is, we're entering into a really interesting period right now as a city. And what it means is that, you know, these kinds of meetings, these kinds of get-togethers actually count for a lot more than they ordinarily do. to talk about, we're here, and I'll get into sort of more concrete detail in a second, but I really appreciate your hosting us tonight, Harry, and it's great to be back in this space, but it's also appropriate to be talking here about the kinds of things that, that are going on at the Art Museum. And obviously the CVP's had a very close working relationship with the Art Museum over the years, and it's going to as you know better than anybody, it's the connection there is one that will be vital in the years to come. I think, so we have been talking since before the pandemic about the partnership between the city and the Art Museum. And I consider the Art Museum to be one of the pillar institutions of the city. One of the animating themes of my time in office, as I've tried to make it this way, is that New Bedford has to take itself and ensure that others take it seriously as a city, not as an industrial town, not as a one of several equivalent municipalities along the southern coastline of Massachusetts, but as a city, which implies something about self-sufficiency, about seizing one's own destiny, about control and of one's affairs. And you can't succeed as a city if you don't have institutions that endure. And we've been through a period nationally in which institutions have come under attack from both sides of the political spectrum. Institutions matter, and at the city level, there are certain key institutions, especially here, that matter an awful lot. And as we come out of the pandemic, strengthening those institutions, and as I look around the room, I'm seeing a number of you who represent or even head those institutions that I would count among the many pillars. But in the business of building a city, you have to build strong institutions. You have to, and that means bringing people in, getting people committed, getting people working towards something beyond their own self-interests. So it's in that spirit that we began discussions with the Art Museum in the last couple of years with Ashley and Christina and John Howland, Marilyn, and many others who are here, Gig, to get to really start to think about, okay, well, what do we need to do for this place to make its presence felt, to make a big contribution to the cultural life, an enduring cultural contribution to the cultural life of the city, and to be a place where people can, that is just a big part of, just one of the great parts of living here. And again, to do it in a way that's sustainable. Some of that answer, a big part of that answer is the place needs to be bigger, more present, and something that draws people from far away, for lots of reasons, for financial reasons, but also just in the way that it's perceived in the city. And so, we have talked about this partnership that I will stand here and say I am enthusiastically supportive of. And I'm enthusiastically supportive of for all the reasons I just said, but I also think that there's some real great opportunities here. There's a lot of terrific people, knowledgeable people around the table, ready to do something big, something that is uniquely New Bedford and that is enduring. And we're at that moment now. We've taken some initial steps, as many of you know. Those steps have included making arrangements to free up more space. As you know, on the second floor of the museum, has long been occupied by the city's Department of Housing and Community Development. We are going to be finding other space for them that works for their mission. We also, so what that implies is that there are, there's going to be some more room. We've been having, and a number of you have been involved in it, some conversations around the library's collection, which is astonishing, right? We're familiar with it, and this part of me is one of the first things I did when I got into office was I checked on the security of those, of the paintings, because I prosecuted a couple of major art theft cases when I was at the U.S. Attorney's Office, and I just, it was something I was losing sleep over. So they're there, they're great, but there's a part of me that doesn't want the world to know that they are there. Dana, make sure you shut the camera off in this segment of the program. So, but we're moving that forward. We want people to see. We want people to lay eyes on the Bierstadts. We want people to lay eyes on the Bradfords and all the other great works that we have in that collection. So there's that, and of course there's the work on design, and that's come a long way. And the good news there is that we can create a great design there that's functional, that is aesthetically striking, that will not cost the king's ransom. And so that, to my mind, it means if you can do something great there, that's very doable. And so I'm excited about the prospect of really starting in on this work. There is a partnership here, of course, and a partnership means a mutuality of responsibilities. And so, as we think about how it gets funded, that's a conversation we have about, competing interests. But I will tell you, I can say to you that this is a big priority for my administration. I really would look forward to getting down to the work of it, because if you create something really that looks visually appealing, that is of a scale that, people would say, oh, that's not some tiny museum, that has some real heft, that there are serious works of art there. There's programming that supports it, including programming for our public schools. Bruce Oliveira, my colleague on the school committee, would echo, I'm sure, my sentiments there, that there is a huge role for a larger institution to play in the public school system. And a place that that says something different, even counterintuitive about New Bedford. That's what we're looking to accomplish, and I think it really can be done. And I look forward to the presentation tonight. I've got a gap between events now. Actually, going back to events, I was just saying to somebody on the street that one of the silver linings for the pandemic for me is that I've hardly had any events to go to. So I actually have weekends like a normal person the last 18 months. But I've got some time, and I look forward to the presentation. I've seen a lot of the work, and I'd love to just hear folks' reactions to it. So, Dean, thank you for hosting us tonight. Ashley, thank you for everything. Thank you to the whole board, and I look forward to the discussion to come. Thanks.
Well, thank you so much, Mayor Mitchell, on behalf of myself and the staff and the board, for your very much appreciated and continued support for the Art Museum, the present Art Museum and the future Art Museum. To be one of the pillars of this city is a remarkable thing to be, and we appreciate that you recognize the work that we've been doing. And so for those who I have not had the pleasure of meeting yet, let me just take a moment to introduce myself. My name is Ashley Okino, and I am the Executive Director of New Bedford Art Museum Artworks. My pronouns are she, her, and hers. And today I have on a snakeskin print dress. I have light brown hair that is pulled back with bangs framing my face. And tonight we will be sharing our vision on the white wall behind me on this projection here. And we look forward to sharing this digital presentation with you. And as Mayor Mitchell said, it's very obvious that the city right now has tremendous energy and excitement around arts and culture. It recognizes the importance of art and what culture can do to revitalizing a city, using creative placemaking as a tool to enhance the city's identity, and to make a significant impact on the momentum of cultural redevelopment. Our primary goal is to build an art museum that is transformative and progressive. It can be to be the institution that it can be, to be safe, a beautiful space, to attract world-class exhibitions, showcase local artists, and to, as always, advance New Bedford's vision as the art museum being a destination. As the city of New Bedford continues to evolve in its cultural renaissance, New Bedford Art Museum Artworks is poised to expand its physical building and programming, adding to the city's regeneration strategy. It's a unique time and opportunity for the Art Museum to think broadly about its cultural approach and to solidify its current building's use for future generations, all while contributing to the preservation and conservation of the beautiful collection at the library. And so I am very excited. Since I came on board at the museum in late 2017, we jumped right into this project in 2018. And as we said at the beginning, many of you have seen some of our feasibility study results, but I want to make sure that everybody does take a prospectus. We have some beautiful images and narrative that we would like to share with you that is available at the table. If you did not get one, please do grab one on the way out. But I'm very excited this evening. It's wonderful to see you in person. It's been so long since we've been able to talk about this project face to face. I want to say it was probably September 2019. I think it was the last time we got together at the museum and really got to talk about this exciting project. And so thank you so much for coming out this evening, for giving us your time, in your ears, in your hearts, and for caring about New Bedford, for caring about arts, for caring about culture, and for caring about New Bedford Art Museum artworks. I sincerely thank you. And I also want to thank our fantastic board chair, Caroline Gonzatti, who I want to pass the mic over to next. Come on over, Caroline.
Thank you, Ashley, and thank you, Mayor Mitchell, for being here and for your remarks. And thanks to all of you for being here and being here tonight to hear us share our vision for the future of the Art Museum. I feel like I'm really rusty at speaking in front of a crowd since there have been no events for like the past 2 years, so bear with me here. Our committee at the museum has been working hard on this project now for almost 3 years, if you can believe that. And so thank you to all of the committee members who are here. And while we've been working on it for 3 years, this actually goes back to the formation of the museum, which I know there are people in this room who are involved and who know that expanding to the second floor and showing pieces from the city's collection have always been part of the vision of New Bedford Art Museum Artworks. So it's very exciting to be involved in the museum at a point in our history where we can actually explore the possibility of making that happen. As I'm sure Austin will much more eloquently talk about, this project would double our gallery space. It would improve our environmental controls, making us available for more regional, national, international exhibitions. It would improve our classroom space. And you know, as anyone who's been in the museum knows, it was built as a bank, it was not built as a museum. And particularly now, to be a 21st century institution, where we're keeping in mind being an equitable organization and an accessible organization, we're just not built for that. So this project would do some really basic things like put a handicap bathroom on the first floor, which we're sorely lacking now. I think it would be a great resource both for city residents and for tourists, and hopefully would only help all the other cultural institutions that exist in the city. And thank you so much, so many of those leaders who are here tonight. And again, thanks to all of you, thanks to the city, thanks to the library, and you all have been so much of a part of the history of the museum, and hopefully now we can all build this future together. So thank you so much. So with that, we are very fortunate to be working with the firm of Machado Silvetti, who's done museums all over the world, presumably. I know all over the country. And we're very fortunate to have Austin Ward here tonight to present a little more about the project. So Austin?
All right, thank you so much, Caroline, Ashley, Dean Jenkins, thank you, and Mayor Mitchell, thank you so much for having me. My name is Austin Ward. I'm an associate at Machado Silvetti. Our office, for those of you who do not know me, or our office has been in practice in Boston for 36 years. Let me speak into the microphone. Is that better? Thank you so much. You guys can just tell me when that'll be. And so we, do work at a wide range of scales, almost always in the public, in the arts, and with museum clients. We really work everywhere in the world and really right here and close to home as well. And so this kind of project, New Bedford Art Museum, is one of our favorite clients because you guys have a passion for how art can transform a city and a place, and that's something that we love. We don't partner, buildings take forever to build. They take a long time and they take a village. And so we always seek out clients that want to be long-term partners and understand the impact that we can have in the arts. So what I'm really excited to share with you a little bit tonight is a bit of the process that we've been going through and working on for the last couple of years, but more specifically the design where we're at today and the kind of vision for the design and the roadmap for the future. MBAM has an incredible array of programs and initiatives that we recognize immediately. I think in the very first interview, we were just blown away just with the conversation and the aspirations and the vision by Ashley, her team, and the trustees. And it's recognized in many of the materials that you guys have all seen and the sort of statements that the museum makes about their focus as an institution. In our early workshops, we set a set of priorities. How do we increase the galleries, increase the accessibility, increase visibility, and really add to the civic presence of New Bedford? And that was some of the major priorities. Like every project that deals with an existing building, there's a lot of digging around. There's a lot of figuring out what is here, what works, what doesn't work. Most importantly, what works for the staff or does not let the staff do what they want to do in the future. And so how do we really understand the limitations and the opportunities of this existing facility and this existing building? And quite honestly, right away, we knew there were some significant challenges for the infrastructure, for the accessibility, for the number of restrooms, the amount of stairs that one has to navigate. But these are all things that we, working with the museum, are able to articulate as things that we could pivot to be assets and opportunities for the future. And I think that's a really important thing. We also worked with the museum to focus on what are the programming initiatives that they want to do in the future. What are the opportunities that they want to host in terms of collections and square footages and things like that. But also art education. And like every design process, it's iterative. We showed a number of schemes, a number of opportunities, a number of scenarios to the trustees and to the staff. And really, it was a conversation with the trustees and the staff that sort of led us to where we are today in terms of being active participants in the design of their museum. And so I want to share a few things. We love the scale of New Bedford. We love the urbanity of New Bedford, especially the downtown. It's something that is just completely takes you in as a kind of an amazing story and a place. And we love the way that the museum sits on Pleasant Street. Going through all the archival photos to see how this building has played a role in, both first as a bank and then a series of different structures over time, the way that it plays a role in the urban condition. And this idea that the museum has talked about for a long time is like, how do you create a cultural campus in the downtown? How is with City Hall, with the library, the museum participate as a sort of cultural anchor on Pleasant Street? And what we love, again, is this ability that the museum has to both share contemporary works, but also share things that are right here from New Bedford, from the city's collection, and to get it visible and to be visible for art and put it into the public. And I think that's a really important thing. The plan that you're seeing here on the center is sort of the concept design, basically the proposed scheme, and on the right you see kind of the existing conditions as the gallery is. For those that are familiar, you kind of come in now and it's one large space under the skylight. It's very similar in some ways to what we're talking about in the refined design, is that what we're doing is basically creating a kind of generous public lobby with new stairs right here at the entry, a kind of center flexible gallery under that existing historic skylight, a series of flanking galleries and art education programs, a new elevator and restroom. The elevator can double as both a collections lift in terms of lifting large works upstairs, but also accessibility for the public, and then a new egress stair in the rear. And I should say, moving the staff out of the basement into the first floor is a really important move. Not just from a personal comfort standpoint, but also from visibility of the staff to the museum patrons and being able to participate in educational programs and things like that. I'm going to talk a little bit about the exterior. It's the New Bedford, this corner of New Bedford, Pleasant Street and William Street. It's very charming, it's a historic building, and we recognize as it being in the National Historic Register, we want to really respect that. but we want to also find opportunities in which we can activate the public and allow art to activate kind of public experience. And so what we talked a lot about is a way we could create a sort of billboard or a city face for the art inside a double-story lobby so that you could see through the beautiful historic arched windows to this facade inside the lobby that both doubles as a thing that would draw you in, but also could be curated with, you know, projected art or hung art, things of that nature. And we would really allow for the museum to play a role as much inside the galleries, outside. And I think that's a really important thing. We all understand the incredible collection across the street at the library and the way in which that could participate in the second floor galleries as part of curated shows and juxtaposition with other collections. But we understand that the gallery at the moment has limitations for its mechanical systems, its envelope systems, things of that nature. So one of the big priorities here from the get-go is how do we make a gallery space that is designed to and can contain rotating exhibition shows of a pretty high caliber, so that it's environmentally sound and it has the environmental conditions and it has the mechanical systems to support those. So we came up early on with this concept of putting a large box inside the big box of the existing shell. So you put a new shell inside the existing shell of the museum so that you can basically move the collection into a kind of large two-story space at the center, really seal it, really protect it from the elements. And so the other piece of this that we really thought was important in conversation with the museum was elevating the experience back to kind of a civic scale. If you've all have been in the museum now, you understand that the second floor, it used to be a two-story atrium when it was a bank. It had a very civic presence. It was a very Beaux-Arts building. And so much of the design process has been about editing out what was added on through the years in order to restore the volume and the civic presence of the interior of the space, and to recognize that the asset of this traditional ceiling that we have that brings so much natural light into the galleries. So again, we've described the sort of main gallery space at the center, which would be a large flexible event space and gallery on four walls. It opens up onto a second gallery. And then these are some images of the lobby. So when you move into the interior, you come into this large lobby space that also could function as a kind of pre-function space for things like what we're doing now and seated lectures and things. Inside this lobby, you're seeing this is the lobby view here. You could go into the galleries. There's that large public stair to the one end that would bring you up to the second floor. And this is what we call the bridge gallery, which is a really unique kind of art object in so many ways, but it also becomes that canvas that I talked about to the street. And it's, in this rendering shown with a kind of, it's called a CFAR glazing. It basically allows the glass to look one way from the inside of it and look a different way from the outside. So it becomes a canvas, but when you're on the upper level, you can look back out through this beautiful arched windows to the library and realize that you still have this connection to downtown. What we really love is how this space acts as both an interior space part of the museum, but also participates in the street life, participates in the public life. And you can see in this section, this is coming through the lobby, when you come in, this main public stair now rectifies a lot of the circulation issues that we have in the museum right now. And it brings you to a new set of public restrooms at the lower level, or you take this accessible elevator to the lower level to the public restrooms. But it brings it all to the front of the building for patrons to use. At the lower level, for those of you who've been there, understand that it's been art studios and ceramic studios for a long time. The intention is to create 2 art classrooms, pretty good scale, public restrooms, lower lobby, locker storage, and then mechanical and back of house storage for art preparation spaces. So these 2 classrooms are really essential for the museum and for Artworks missions to bring in student groups and to have educational programs that complement the shows in the galleries, and that was a really big thing. So these classroom spaces are really going to be workhorses in terms of the kinds of programming and active engagement that the museum can put on. And then moving back upstairs, or back into this center space, you see here in this rendering the skylit lights coming all the way down through this slot in the second floor that basically gives you a kind of 2-story gallery in the center of this space under that traditional ceiling. And there's another section. And then you can see here in the kind of wide view where you get this really 60 by 60 large gallery that can be flexible and reconfigured into a number of things, not just for gallery shows, but for lectured seating, for dinners, for events like we're having right here tonight, and so on and so forth. And then in the rear, in the back corner, a kind of art education room where you can have smaller group educational spaces right on the main floor of the museum. So you might have a show, bring students in, have a show, let them experience the collection, and then go and have a conversation or do a project about that show in that particular location. When you move upstairs, you go up the main public circulation stair, and you're presented with a kind of enfilade of galleries that go around the perimeter of this large center gallery. So it's easy to think of it as a large centerpiece and then a kind of donut of galleries that you would move around. And one of the most important things that we kind of really worked on was how do you increase the level of transparency and sightline so you kind of know where to go next. And so when you come up to this center stair, you can kind of see right through the main gallery to the next gallery beyond. So there are these moments where you can see collection in a couple different places, and it both allows you to kind of create your own path of circulation of following the collection, but also lets curators, one might imagine, be able to set up an interesting sequence of how you might move through the collection. On the outside edges, there are these two long galleries in proportion, which complement the large square gallery, which you might, on one side, not on the William Street side, has no windows and it has a lot of environmental protections. It's really great for that reason. And then on the William Street side, you might have more statuary or sort of collections that might not be as sensitive to light. All of the windows have sort of light filtration and screening and all of that to manage and mitigate those as well. And then lastly, the main gallery on the upper space, where you can see up and down between these beautiful skylights above, really working to preserve all the detailing, the historic molding, the historic character of the central space, but to repurpose it and reframe it for art and for new experiences in the city of New Bedford. I think that was a really important thing. Just want to hit a couple quick highlights and I'll conclude. As Caroline said, this renovation and expansion will expand accessibility and what the museum can do by providing new public restrooms that are accessible, new elevators, new stairs, reorganizing the circulation so that it's way more intuitive for the everyday visitor or the regular visitor. It's also incredibly important to have enhanced and integrated building systems, so mechanical systems that are designed for galleries and for the particular kinds of shows that want to happen in these galleries. Integrated lighting so that they can be adjusted between shows and really tailored to what the curatorial staff wants to do. And then lastly, as we've all talked about, really doubling the footprint, expanding the footprint of just gallery space and linear gallery surface so that between the first and the second levels of the museum, you can start to have multiple shows at the same time or a really substantial collection. And then lastly, expanded art education spaces really across every level in the way that you could imagine different classes, different activities going on between the different levels of the museum week in and week out. And as we've discussed, the ability to host different kinds of large format gatherings like we're talking about here. Thank you so much for the opportunity to come and present this. I love this project. It's a wonderful place. Really excited to see this vision come to reality one day. So thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Austin. And as you heard from Mayor Mitchell and from Caroline and from Austin, this project really will strategically change the landscape of visual arts and resources for visual arts and to visual arts. For people here living in the city, for students who are here at UMass Dartmouth, for the region and beyond. So as we come together tonight, we're excited that the museum can really be a visual arts anchor for all of the groups that I mentioned. And, the sky's really the limit for us, we feel like. I mean, we're just very excited to, as you can see, we have a great vision for what this building can be and how it can continue to serve the community as it has for the past 26 years. And so we're excited to share the vision. And I also just really want to sincerely thank you, Austin, for coming down from Boston and everyone for coming here this evening to join us. And so that being said, I'm happy to anyone has any questions that they would like to ask about the project or any thoughts, we do have surveys available. I'm sure that you've seen our QR codes around, or perhaps you picked one up at the table. So if you maybe have a thought now, but you don't want to share it in the group, or you want to think about it more, feel free to contact us afterwards. Any thoughts? Everybody's just so wowed by the pictures. I know they are. You're going to let me off easy? That's okay.
I want to commend you, congratulate you, applaud you for being able to envision something so bold during such a challenging moment, and we're rooting you on from Lower Union Street.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Amanda. Thank you. And and this past week was just a great example of what we can continue to do with the future of the Art Museum. We had the Teen Apprentice program come on over.